With Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
So we've mentioned CHAZ the last couple days, but it's no longer CHAZ. CHAZ is now CHOP. So I'm going to give you some updates on the CHOP situation in Seattle. Fox News reports that Seattle police officers have agreed to only enter the Capitol Hill organized protest, the CHOP, to respond to significant life safety issues. That's according to the mayor's office. City officials and organizers occupying the area that was CHAZ reached an agreement to remove temporary roadblocks set in place by protesters and replace them with concrete barriers. However, they're shrinking the space. So that was like 6 or 7 blocks. Now it's 3 blocks, but it is set with concrete barriers.
Just like literally.
That's right.
Well, question, I'm very naive about this, but this is presumably where there's a bunch of businesses that would otherwise be open and people, I assume, living in high rises or something. And they're just kind of held hostage.
Glad you asked.
This group?
I'm going to touch on that. So on Monday, Chief Carmen Best denied that Seattle was under siege in any way after a business owner whose auto repair shop sits about a block outside the CHOP's perimeters, but it's right there, called 911 over a dozen times to report that someone had broken in, stolen cash, car keys, attempted to light the building on fire. She said dispatchers and officers are coordinating with crime victims or callers to meet police on the edges of the occupied area, and they will only go in if there's an urgent situation. And remember, this was supposed to be a leaderless event, but they have found people that are kind of rising to the top that they can at least negotiate with, or else they're screwed.
Well, there's a fundamental problem that, again, it's kind of the death of math or reality, which is famously when Dr. Drew and I interviewed Chumbawamba, they were anarchists, and I just say, well, how does it work? And they'd go, hey, one minute you're garbage man, but why don't you get to be a commercial airline pilot? And I was like, well, how would that work? And it's like, well, you be a garbage man on Monday and then you fly 777 on Tuesday, and I was like, and then what about your album? What about your music? Like you worked hard on it. You had to pay engineers, equipment, space and time and money. How would it work with your material? And people, and they were like, people just take it. Just take it. Just have it for free. And I'm like, but then how do you get paid? Or how does the engineer get paid? And so there's a math problem that just never fucking works.
Adam, in their defense, they were a very, very famous, successful musical group one day and trash collectors the next day.
Right.
So they live honestly.
Well, they got knocked down. I don't know if they got up again, but they definitely got knocked down. And so there's this thing where it's like, and I always look at it again as the internal combustion engine versus the wave of the future, the jet engine, and it's like, I know you don't like this old dirty way of doing things known as capitalism, and some people are going to have more money than others, and then there's going to be people in charge of other people and people telling other people what to do and paying them for their time and service. But all we can do is try to evolve the system we have, which has evolved quite a bit over the years, but we can continue to evolve this system. The tear it down and start anew never works, because capitalism isn't a system. It's what people do when you leave them alone. It's essentially, it's a piece of nature. If you just take people and leave them alone, they'll go, hey, what are you good at? It's like, I'm a good woodworker. All right, what are you good at? I'm good at shoeing horses. Hey, what are you good at? Blowjobs. Okay, I think we can work something out here. You need your roof thatched. I need my roof. I need my dick sucked. You need your horse done. Like, that's just what happens. It's funny because people kind of go, my oldest thing I used to say on Loveline, which doesn't sound very interesting, but I always meant it when people go, how come men build the bridges and women are the nursery school teachers? I'd go, because that's the way it is. It's not like there was a decree that came down from, the mountain in Muhammad or the mountain came down with Moses. It's like, that's what they gravitate to. That's how it works. Like, when you leave people alone, this is the system that's created, warts and all. but this is the system that's great. You have to force communism. You have to force, we're living on a kibbutz. Okay, that's good for 31 people. But I mean, that's a forced system. It's good for people. It's a self-selecting group. The people on the kibbutz want to be on the kibbutz. When you just kind of get out of the way, this is the system that arises. And there's nothing we can do about it other than try to make it fair and try to make the playing field as even as possible and regulate it to some degree. But that's about it. This is the system.
Well, and, the conversation we were just having with our guests, it rings so true in this particular case, because all night I have two TVs on in the news booth. And at some point in the night, I turn on Fox and CNN just because there's no more local news. And I may have taken a picture, but at the same time, they were both talking about CHOP or CHAZ or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the takes were so different. Me sitting in a news booth, obviously we're just reporting the facts, but I'm thinking, if somebody asks me, what do you think of this zone? I'm going to say, I have no idea, because the takes were so different. I don't know who to follow. So like you said, you kind of have to split the difference. This is anarchy. They're destroying people's businesses and they're taking each other hostage, or the exact opposite. And it's just like, I feel like the people who consume the most news know the least in terms of opinion, because it's just coming at you from so many different angles.
Well, it's both. They'll try to spin it like it's like, oh, it's a summer fair, like a street fair type environment. And then the other guys will spin it like it's a militant, paramilitary group out of control.
Right.
It's probably both simultaneously. It's guys with guns and people, braiding God's eyes.
Just there for the day.
Together with yarn. But either way, it shouldn't exist. It's a breakdown of the rule of law. I've been talking about this for a long time. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in the family. It doesn't really work micro, and it doesn't work macro. It just doesn't work. Unfortunately, you need an authority figure. We don't like authority figures anymore, but whether it's a football coach, a principal, a cop, or a dad, we need a little more of that injected into society.
Well, Seattle, I think, is case in point, because you have people, I guess you could just go in there and kind of mow it all down and just be like, no, you got to go. But they're looking for the leaders. They're giving them cinder block concrete barriers just to sort of negotiate and keep the peace. And, we've all visited Seattle, the last couple of years. We've done shows there, and there's a lot of tough parts of town in Seattle, a lot of rough and scary parts of town. So this kind of, it's a perfect place for something like this to happen.
Got to get Janet Reno. Got to get her back.
Roll the tanks.
Rolling the tanks. All right.
The Trump administration does not seem to want you to read The Room Where It Happened. That's the new book by former National Security Advisor John Bolton, which is set for a June 23rd release, just a few days away.
I know when I woke up this morning, that was the only book ahead of my book on Amazon.
Fuck that guy.
But I was
wow, you got to take him down.
Unfair advantage. Come on. If you're going to spill all the beans about what Trump said in the Oval Office versus me complaining about people flying with their dogs, that's unfair.
Yeah, we're going to need more than what he said on the set of The Apprentice. We need the Oval Office.
Right.
Can we all get on the same page now? Because I just want to get it out there. Are we going to believe what's in the book? Are we going to dismiss what's in the book? Because there's going to be a lot of massaging or revisionist history going on, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
It depends who has their way, maybe, because the Trump administration claims that it contains classified information that could compromise national security, basically that they get a first look at these types of things, and that John Bolton signed something saying as such. So in a statement this week, Bolton said the book includes some earth-shaking descriptions about his time working with Trump. Bolton also confirmed details about Trump's dealings with Ukraine, which were a key part of the Democrats' case to impeach. The DOJ claims that Bolton is sidestepping a government review that he agreed to for any book before he took his job in 2018. They're suing Bolton for breach of contract for breaking basically a confidentiality agreement. And it's with Simon & Schuster. I mean, they're not, I think they know a thing or two about book publication and distribution. And it's very rare for the White House to sue to delay the publication of a book.
Trump is going to benefit. So back in the day, Woodward and Bernstein would write all the President's Men. I guess that was a book, and they made a movie about it, whatever. And then that was the just sort of go-to Watergate, blow the lid off it. That's it. Carved in stone from your mouth to from God's mouth to your ears is what that was. Everybody from Omarosa to any, Scaramucci, everyone now writes a book, right? So it's so flooded and diluted that even if everything in it is true, Trump gets to go, another hater, fake news, cashing a check, making a deal. So it's just actually, it's sort of kind of what I've always been saying about, like, stop calling everyone a racist. Wait for someone to be a racist and then call them a racist. Because if you start calling everyone a racist, then now no one's a racist. You know what I mean? Like, so there's been so many hit books on Trump over the last few years that now it's like, another disgruntled employee is going to go, it's like lawsuits. It's like all the slip and falls and all stuff. Eventually it's like, you don't know if the person's a victim or not anymore. It's just, it's another payday. And that's the danger of this.
Question, do you think that's the product of the era we're in, where it's like the more these things come out or the more they're published or whatever, it's like it dilutes the waters, versus maybe back in the Woodward and Bernstein days, had there been 10 books about whatever, it would be like, oh my God, they just keep piling up. It just keeps going and going and going.
I think there needs to be a kind of a definitive record of an event or an administration or what have you. And if we get 50 different versions of an administration or an event or whatever it is, it ends up getting diluted as I think about it. I haven't been on the Amazon. I haven't checked around or poked around the Amazon bestseller list for a while because I'm not an avid reader per se. But I have. I did go on recently to see where my book was, and it struck me that it seemed like out of the top 50 books, 26 of them were Trump books, and 17 of them were racist books, like Am I a White Racist or How to Deal with Your Privilege or whatever. It's like all racist, all Trump. One cookbook in my book, like that's about it.
It's the anarchist cookbook.
Right. That's all that's on there anymore. It's like that's the new world order. And go ahead, Brian.
No, finish what you were saying. Is a follow-up question after that.
I'm just saying, I don't know how many books you can read about you being a racist before you just kind of tune out a little bit. Like there used to be kind of a definitive book on race or definitive book on the Nixon administration or whatever it is. And then we'd all gather around it and use it like it was a textbook, like a history book. Like, could you imagine in the 9th grade having 35 history books, all sort of different?
No, there was a history book.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
That'd have been nice.
You, Adam, you just wrote a book. You've written several books. I wrote a book, and you've described this process more than once, which I totally identified with, which is whether your book's about cancer or jokey jokes or dogs on planes, the lawyer will call you and pore over the details in your book. And no matter how fucking innocuous it is, or like if it's my story about my cancer, like, did this really happen on this date? Are you 100% sure? But like, they are so afraid, anti-litigious, I guess is the word. I don't know what the word is, but like, what are the chances that this is not to be believed? You know what I mean? Or that this is falsified. It would be insane if this passed by lawyers being false.
I don't know how it works. I know I went through that process more than once. I was asked.
Your parents.
I was asked. I must be the only author on the planet that's ever asked if their parents were litigious people. Like, he was basically saying, you're going to get sued by your own parents if they ever read this book. Yeah, I don't know how it works with Bolton or Omarosa. Like, do they just go, this is what happened? Or maybe they just assume they're going to get sued anyway, and it doesn't matter. I don't know. But I'm assuming that process the process that you and I went through, I'm assuming they're going through it as well. I'm number one in political humor, ideologies, and doctrines. humor and entertainment, self-help and psychology humor, motivational and self-help as well as we speak. Personal audiobook is number one in personal success. And all right, I don't care about all the categories anymore. What position are we in the audiobook? 11 still? Oh, we'll figure it out. All right. Sorry, Gina. Go ahead.
Well, your crystal brain strikes again. I'm pretty sure when you mentioned this the other day, it was a joke, but also you doing a little fortune telling. There is a logo. There are actually two logos that are about to be changed, but one of them we will focus on. She's an ant. She's delicious.
Oh, Aunt Jemima.
Poured over pancakes.
Yeah.
That's right. Aunt Jemima getting a new name and a new image. Quaker Oats announced it's retiring the brand and logo, acknowledging Aunt Jemima's origins are based on racial stereotypes. There have been calls to remove the logo for many years. Now, remember, I'm sorry, I don't think I sent this as a picture to show you, but remember, up until 1989, that was the really stereotypical Aunt Jemima with the headscarf and it was much more stereotypical. After that, they kind of softened the image, modernized it a little, but it's still not working. Apparently, the brand was inspired by a song titled Old Aunt Jemima, which was performed by a minstrel performer in the 1800s. The logo was created in 1890 based on a woman named Nancy Green. She was a storyteller, cook, and missionary worker. Although the image has been modernized over the years.
Storyteller, cook?
Yeah, storyteller, cook.
Oh, because you don't want storyteller, cook. That's a lot of spit in your grits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like her just waxing on over that open pot.
How long before about okra?
How long before Uncle Ben is on the chopping block?
Uncle Ben's Rice is following suit and will be changing its logo as well.
There you go.
Well, look, I say turnabout is fair play, black people. We're getting rid of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Sorry.
And the Michelin Man.
Yeah. Okay. You loved him. It was beloved. Part of your childhood. Gone.
Ronnie guy, bounty guy, you're both out.
Yeah, you're out. How do you like us now? We're getting a Puerto Rican guy in there. Yeah, we should start tearing down all the cultural white icon folks.
Oh.
The bounty guy. Yeah.
So many.
Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean, I was going to say.
Mr.
Bald
Clean,
icon.
Gone.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. That's right. All right.
By the way, I really wanted to think of this 35 seconds ago, and I couldn't when you said a storyteller spitting in your soup, and I kept saying Calamity Jane in my head. Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary was a cook, didn't know she was sick.
Oh, is that what happened?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Max Pato writes, Quaker Oats guy. That guy's got to go. He's going.
He's public enemy number one.
That motherfucker's a landowner.
He's going.
Look at him.
Yeah.
So Reuters reports that.
By the way, can I say, here's how you know you have a bad childhood. When containers become a big part of your childhood. The Quaker Oats container was like, you can't throw this out.
No.
It's round and it stands on its own. We could use it. We could color it. We could put other things in it. Like when you start looking, just look at like when Arco gas stations were like giving out a Rams cup for every time you filled up, or just some stupid IHOP giveaway, or collect
little
and
glass
trade
tumblers you'd get at Burger King or McDonald's,
or even like they had jelly that came in a weird mug, and you'd use
with a handle.
Just or even a Sucrets container, like a little metal container. It's got a snap lid. You don't throw that out. Yes.
You're describing my grandpa's house.
Yes.
I almost threw away a mayonnaise jar in his house. I thought Christmas was canceled.
Oh, right. I know. My grandparents were the same way. I grew up that same way. Oh, God. Way back in the day, my dad smoked cigars, and there'd be a cigar box. A cigar box that's got a hinge and a flap on it. I mean, that thing's sturdy. You could put Hot Wheels in there and pot later on. Like, containers were a big ass deal.
Yeah, I wish that wasn't the case anymore, but we buy this 4-year-old everything he wants. I mean, he has more toys than I've ever seen in 20 lifetimes, and the kid loves coffee cans. He loves spaghetti jars. He loves toilet paper rolls. We're not allowed to throw anything away because it's a drum set. It's a sword. I'm like, I will buy you whatever you want. Can I?
I sadly Probably one of the second saddest days of my young life after the time I brushed my teeth with Vagisil, which was a bad mistake. There was that time.
Have I made this joke before? It sounds like you're bragging about how much pussy you get. I brushed my teeth with Vagisil.
Smell Nick Nolte's mustache. Smells like Vagisil. So there's another time, too, again, in the nothing to do, no money, and nowhere to go department. I remember once fishing a tampon applicator out of the garbage and using it like a telescope, you know? Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
I didn't know what it was. It's like two pieces of cardboard. They were connected. They moved. It had a value to me. Yeah, like a raccoon.
Was it multicolored?
No, it was just,
okay.
It was all white. It was all white.
Yeah, it was peppermint color. It was a candy cane.
Yeah, looked like the front of a barber shop.
Oh, my
God. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom would put a lot of English on her tampons, evidently. She did it with a certain joie de vivre.
Fucking rally fingers out there.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I remember that, pulling it out of the trash can and holding it up like, ooh, I'm Hobo Kelly. I can see everybody. Yeah. They were lean times. Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. I got nothing. That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Although the Vagisil stuck with me because the tampon applicator, I didn't know what it was. I didn't figure that out later.
Vagisil, you'd find out soon enough. When it's in your mouth.
Almost immediately. Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, speaking of communicable diseases, Reuters reports that coronavirus infections hit record highs in 6 U.S. states on Tuesday, marking a rising tide of cases for a second consecutive week as most states move forward with reopening. And one of those states, Arizona, Florida, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Texas, all reported record increases in new cases on Tuesday. After recording all-time highs last week, Nevada also reported its highest single-day tally. They were up from May 23rd, and hospitalizations are also rising. That's really the one you focus on because more infections could mean better testing, more testing. But hospitalizations, if they're rising, that's an indicator.
Hospitalizations and deaths; those are the two, and any incapacities at hospitals scare me as well. Like the thing where the cases go up and even the hospitalizations go up. Well, sadly, we're opening the economy. That's going to happen. That has to happen. It'd be weird if it didn't, but it's the deaths and the hospitalizations. And I guess they don't put anyone on ventilators anymore, right?
They definitely do.
They do?
Yeah, but
I saw a story today that Arizona was at 80% of their ventilators are being used. Chris can verify that, but it was some insane number.
Oh, I thought
we were giving away our ventilators.
I thought ventilators were certain death.
I think it's coinciding with. Well, that might be true. I think it's coinciding with where it's spiking. Like, I don't think California is having a dearth of ventilators, but Arizona is.
Also, then I heard about, was I talking to Drew about this, not a vaccine, but another remedy?
There's like 3 major companies working on vaccines, and it's possible that we would get something akin to a vaccin. I don't know if Dr. Drew said this too.
Steroid.
Way before.
There was some steroid that seemed to work or stave it off or be effective in the whatever version of it. There's some new steroid treatment now that it's an old steroid that they're finding some positive results about. All right, Gina, what else? And Max Pat, you can look for that article out of Arizona about the ventilators as we speak.
I thought you wanted me to look for the steroids.
Oh, it's all right. The steroid is Dexama, blah, 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 and it shows helps severely ill corona patients, according to scientists in Britain, which is good because the other things we talked about didn't help once you were severely ill. So maybe if we get one when you're severely ill, maybe that'll be helpful.
Is it dexamethasone or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that for when I was on Avastin years ago.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I would get that with the infusion.
So safe and effective and been around. So good.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll work. All right. What do we got, Gina Grad?
Well, alcohol sales may have boomed during the lockdown, but returning to air travel, going to be a very different story. Really want your take on this, Adam, because I don't know I can't remember if this affected you on the plane or not. Airlines, including EasyJet and KLM, those are in Europe, Delta Airlines, American Airlines here in the U.S., Asia's Virgin Australia, are suspending all or part of their alcoholic drink service in response to COVID-19. It's supposed to minimize interaction between crew and passengers. And we know you have the canned water and party mix. It's so delicious. Many airlines are limiting drink options to water only. Face masks must be kept on except if you're eating or drinking, and they just want to make the eating and drinking so unappealing that you just keep your mask on, I would imagine.
Well, I'm always obsessed. I have an obsession with the placement of the backpack, and it's not my obsession. It's their obsession with the placement of the backpack. As I've said, it's always duffel bag goes overhead, backpack sits on my lap, usually trying to get stuff out of it or deal with it. Always a long discussion about where it needs to go. And if you're sitting on the bulkhead, it's got to go up in the overhead. You can't have it on your lap. But then I thought, well, if the New World Order is there's an open seat between me and my roommate, meaning Mike's on one side and I'm on the other, and that seat in the middle is always open, why can't I set my backpack on that seat? It's
buckle it in.
It's where a human being would normally be. No can do. It's got to go on the ground, and it can't go on the ground. It's got to be stuffed in front of the seat in front of you. And there's always an obsession over that. As a matter of fact, in recent years, I'd say there's more of an obsession over the backpack versus the seatbelt. I've not been admonished about the seatbelt not being buckled, or maybe they can't see it as clearly. Is a lot of passes and explanations on where that backpack needs to be and how you can't hang on to it and how it can't be on the seat. It can't be in the bulkhead. It's got to be stuff. It's not far enough under the seat in front of you. I've always thought about that. I'm not sure where the obsession lies. It's not like we open the newspaper every Monday and go, another air disaster. Flight experts
could have been avoided.
They blame the backpack. Yeah, someone tripped over a backpack. They couldn't get to the emergency exit, and they saw a fiery death.
Were people wearing masks on your flight?
Yeah, everyone was wearing a mask, but again, it's very catch as catch can. Like, you have a lot of people with the nose hanging out over the top of the mask. You have a lot of people pulling the mask down to like talk or take a drink and then slide the mask back up. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of daylight between the bridge of the nose and where the mask hits. Like, it's something, but it is not
optimal.
I'll put it to you this way. If you ever see those clean rooms that SpaceX runs or NASA runs or some pharmaceutical company, 90% of the people on that plane wouldn't cut muster in one of those clean rooms. As far as that, they'd be shown the door. They'd be like, you got to put your fucking mask on right. It's not symbolic here.
Did they offer alcohol?
No, there's no more alcohol. There's no more food. There's no more anything. And I suspect that most companies, airlines included, they have stuff they want, but if they can't just do it, because then everyone would go, what the fuck? And I don't, they're pushing. We were discussing this the other day. It'd be interesting to find out your opinion and the opinion of, and the actual math on it. But they push that cart up and down the aisle. It takes them a long time. They have jack-offs like Mike August ordering his like cranberry ale or whatever. And he's like, I want ginger ale and orange juice and cranberry juice. And it's all free. I mean, that part of it's free. They're like mixing and matching and getting the ice. And it seems like kind of a calorie burner for them. Now, they do sell drinks, but you take those flights, like you're flying out of Phoenix at 10 a.m., like how much are they making on booze on that flight? Oftentimes, seems like about half the time I've ordered a drink on the flight, they kind of just went like, yeah, let's take it, it's fine. It's okay. Like, I haven't been, I have a batting average for booze on a flight that I'd say 40% of the time they go, don't worry about it. And they just keep going. So I don't think
Southwest is very liberal with their drink coupons. They could be like, mine's up above. And don't worry about it.
So I don't think it's a big source of revenue for them. I do feel like it's a big hassle for them. And anytime you can slide something under the umbrella of safety, then you can get rid of it. And then also, if all the other airlines are doing it simultaneously, then you're not going to be the one that stands out. So I think they're using this as their opportunity to get rid of something they would have liked to have gotten rid of anyway. And my feeling is that's fine, but you just have to kind of reflect it in the ticket price. It didn't seem like they wanted to do the meals. They didn't seem like they wanted to do the drinks. It seemed like they wanted to do less and less of that. And look, think about what it used to be, sort of pre-coronavirus. I mean, just think about how it was in the 60s and the 70s, pheasant under glass and Coach, rolling out big silver carts and everything like you're at Laurie's,
Real silverware.
Right. Yeah. So they kind of...
Stemware.
They kind of use 9/11 to do a lot of that, too. Like, okay, now it's a focus on safety. We're not handing out the drinks until we get up to altitude and stuff like that. So whenever I see them implementing something and doing it universally, I'm assuming it's something they wanted to do in the first place. So I'll just reverse engineer it. Let's say the airlines benefited greatly from serving alcoholic drinks and turned a tidy profit on it. Do you think they would be saying we can't do it now because of this close contact? We're bumping into
only alcoholic drinks.
You go to take a leak, you walk to the back of the airplane and you bump into someone who's walking out of the bathroom. There's no science to it. The airplane is 7 feet wide. There's the airplane, we're flying a 737. The 737 is 10 foot wide and there's 130 people on that flight. Like, where are we going? How's this going to work? Some of them are wearing masks. Others are, getting the snack mix, pulling the mask down, taking a handful of snack mix, pulling the mask back up. I mean, it ain't a science. It's mostly window dressing, and I would assume the booze. I'll tell you, this is going to benefit the folks that make the Travelers, right? Like the little booze bottles. You got to
full size for Brad Williams.
You got to be armed. You got to be armed with one of those when you get on a flight.
Roll your arm.
Brad did take the picture, by the way. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh,
did he take the picture? Yep.
With the booze bottle and the thimble.
He sure did. Yep.
Was it a red thimble? Was that my problem with it?
Yeah, that's right.
I need the Monopoly set thimble, but yes. Thank you, Brad Williams. I appreciate it. Oh. You have Arizona info. Yeah, ventilators.
So according to the Arizona Republic, their biggest newspaper, ventilator use for suspected and confirmed positive COVID patients was at its highest on Monday, with 340 patients on ventilators. Now, their governor said that the entire time they've been focused on a possible worst-case scenario with surge capacity for hospital beds and ventilators, ICU beds. Those are not needed or necessary right now, and that a second stay-at-home order is not under discussion. And also there is no requirement for everyone to wear masks in public.
Well, good. We're going to Tempe, and we'll be at the Improv on the 3rd and the 4th, doing a live podcast and stand-up there as well. All right, let's do one more, Gina Grad.
All right. Well, I generally wouldn't end with this, but I did just get a notification on my phone. Actor Danny Masterson, Hyde from the 70s Show, charged with raping 3 women, according to Fox 11. This is just hot off the presses.
Which one is he?
Was that a 70s Show?
Yeah, the guy that always wore the aviators.
Oh, yeah.
The cool guy.
Scientologist.
That's right.
Is he? Wow.
Yes. And so these are from 2001, 2003, and I'm looking for the third one. If convicted as charged, he faces a possible maximum sentence of 45 years to life in state prison. But I think they're just getting the ball rolling on this.
Wow. Well, when we kind of redefine the definition of rape, once we redefined it, when we kind of turned it into, if people were drunk or if, any unwanted advance or whatever, when we got pretty when we broadened, pardon the pun, the definition of rape, and then you take all these guys who go from zero to hero, go from nobody and unrecognizable on big TV shows. I mean, I got to tell you, I was on MTV in the 90s. You would go, if I went to a strip club or even a bar, like I went to a bar in Manhattan when I was, I don't know, 1997, 1998, whatever maybe it was the height of MTV Loveline. Two chicks come up to me and go like, hey, want to go back to our room and basically watch us, or party with us or whatever. Under the current definition of rape, any of that shit could have fallen under that umbrella. Now we'll figure out what he did and how severe it was.
I can tell you what the counts are. He was charged with 3 counts of rape by force or fear in separate incidents occurring between 2001 and 2003.
Force or fear?
Force or fear.
They've been investigating him since 2016.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have to actually read the article, but let's see. Masterson in 2 other cases, one for insufficient. Okay. Additionally, the DA's office declined to file sexual assault charges against Masterson in 2 other cases, one for insufficient evidence and the other based upon the statute of limitations for the crime. A warrant was filed for his arrest on Tuesday.
I bet you Kutcher's not taking his calls anymore. No fucking way.
No.
And he hasn't done anything since that show, or has he?
He did the. Did he do the ranch?
Yeah. He was dropped from the show when the charges were being.
Yeah.
He's dropped from the ranch
with Ashton Kutcher.
With Kutcher on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a guy edits on that show. Wow. All right. Well,
so we'll follow that.
We'll keep it up. We'll keep you posted. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
That was the news with Gina Grad.